Have you ever waken up and looked at the time and looked at the date and looked at your life and felt like you were in the twilight zone? Like 5 years from your life has passed and you are still in the same place that you were 5 years ago. And you wake up and your daily activities, the tasks, everything that you do is just the same day in and day out. Have you ever felt like that? Like, when is this going to change? Am I a robot? Like, you can just go through your entire day on autopilot because it's just the same. That is not living on purpose.
Hey queens, yeah, you know who you are. God, come on, go ahead and put that crown on your head. Now tilt a little to the left, now a little to the right. Perfect. Now let's get to work, because we know you got big goals and you got big dreams and not afraid to let them know. Why? Because you step into your purpose. You speak out on your faith, and you shift up in your journey, because you a boss. Welcome to the podcast, Drop the Expiring Act, with your host, Belly of QueenBAEGoals.com, reminding you that you are a queen before anything else. It's your life and your goals. Make it royal. All right, y'all. Go ahead and work that crown.
Hey Queen BAEs, welcome to episode 15. We're talking about living on purpose. So this is Queen BAE Goal number 4. So last week we did Queen BAE Goal number 5, which was aligned habits. So this week we are talking about living on purpose, because in order to have aligned habits, you have to be living on purpose and have set goals so you know exactly which habits you are trying to align or what it is that you are working on in your life. So let's get right into it. So in the beginning of the episode, I kind of went through a little bit of, a time I felt in my life, and not saying that it was 5 years, but have you ever woke up and felt like that? Like a year has passed and you're still in the same place that you were the year before, right? And the days, as you go through the days, it's like the same thing over and over. You can basically live or put your life on autopilot because you're doing the same things every day and nothing is changing. You're not growing. Like, nothing in your day-to-day life is changing. It's just the same thing. It's like, I forgot the name of the movie with Bruce Willis, when they were basically robots, right? They had robot versions of themselves that went out into the real world, and they just sat at home and they laid there on their couches. Well, it's almost like that, because that movie had a little bit more going on, but you know what I mean? Like, just being a robot to your life. Like, if that's the way that if you've ever felt that way, or if that's the way that you're living, you're currently not living on purpose. So let's get into what living on purpose means, because I know a lot of you are hearing living on purpose and you're like, oh, so following your purpose or, finding your purpose. That's not what I'm talking about when I say live on purpose, because a lot of people don't know how to find their purpose or still don't know what their purpose is. So when I say live on purpose, I'm more talking about living intentionally in your life. Like, when you wake up every day, instead of living like a robot, your day has more intention than just doing the same basic things every day. And in order to start living an intentional life, it requires you having some type of goals or something that you're working towards in your life, to go from the person that you are to a different person or a different lifestyle. And especially for those of you who are trying to drop your aspiring act and become something else, become an author, right? Become a podcast host, become an entrepreneur, become a singer, become a dancer, whatever it is that you're trying to become. You're still in a phase of aspiring because you haven't become that yet. And in order to become that, you have to have some type of goals in your life so that you can start moving yourself towards that path. So that's what I mean when I say live on purpose. Being intentional in the things that you're doing every day so that you can get from aspiring to just being that thing that you want to be in your life. So let's go back to like the story I told in the beginning about, waking up and feeling like every day was just the same and I had not moved an ounce from where I was the year before. And one of the things that I realized in that time was, because I didn't have any type of goal set, Like I usually every year, it's like start creating goals for myself. From since, it's been a long time. But starting in about '08, if you read like my story, I talk about starting in '08 when I started to do goal setting sessions with like some people who came to my house. We had our fold up chairs. We didn't even buy furniture at that point. But one of the things that I wanted to do in the house was have a goal setting session. I like drafted a whole commitment contract that everybody filled out together in the room, and then we all signed it, and we committed ourselves to, setting these goals. Like I've been a goals girl for as long as I can tell, and I've been a project manager forever, so like that aspect of it is always planning and always moving towards something or working towards something. But I did that for a few years. I did that with like people who were around, and then that was before I got into the online space. And before I realized that, the people who are around you are necessarily not your audience, that kind of way. But I got down because I felt like I was doing it with these people and they weren't committed. So I'm like, well, why am I doing this? Right? But that's probably why I have that other episode for my other series called, when your people aren't your people. Because a lot of times your people really aren't your people. But I got down for, trying to have other people or help other people set goals in their life when they probably weren't even there yet, or that's not where they really wanted to be, or that's not what they really wanted to do. So it made me feel like, okay, well, what am I doing this for if it's not helping anybody, right? So I had stopped like doing the yearly setting goals thing for a minute. And when I stopped doing it with other people, I kind of stopped doing it for myself. So that kind of made me fall into this zone of zombie mode, right? So just going every day, day to day, without any goals, without working really towards anything, and just feeling like, I'm in the twilight zone. So fast forward to 2017, I decided I was going to get into blogging. And at the end of that year, of course, again, I had the epiphany that I should start doing the goals thing again. So I started doing, I didn't call it a commitments contract anymore. I forgot what I called it. I forgot what I called the contract itself, but the exercise was called Start Your Year Right, and you did it in December where you wrote down all the goals that you wanted to work for in the next year. And then when January started, you already had your plan and you move forward with whatever your plan was. So I've been doing it ever since on my blog now every year since 2017. I'm trying to focus more outward versus focusing on the people who were around, because, you can, what did it say? You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it, right? So I just started pushing it out into the world, and it's going to reach whoever it reaches. At some point, it will find the people who need it. So that's what my goal was, to find the people who needed it versus, trying to pull people who are not ready to be pulled. So since then, I have been back on, feeling a little bit better and having goals that I'm working towards. And that's what kind of brought me to living on purpose and making sure that that was one of the goals that I kept in my life. So Queen BAE Goal number 4 became living on purpose for that reason, because I wanted to make sure that I'm never in a space again where I don't feel like, or I'm never in a space again where I feel like I'm waking up and it's just the same thing every day. And I shared my goals in my blog post earlier this year. So the goals that I'm working on for 2020, I shared in a blog post earlier this year. So check out my website and go to the blog so you can read the goals that I'm working on for this year. You guys can help me out by one, subscribing to my YouTube channel if you have not seen my YouTube channel yet. And at the time when I wrote the goals, I wasn't even thinking about a podcast. So it's so funny that I'm doing this podcast now, because that wasn't even one of the goals, but life. So how can you live on purpose or more intentionally in your life? Like I said, but of course, by setting goals and being intentional about the goals that you set. And that's part of the training that I do online in the series. I also have a series on my YouTube channel called Bridging the Gap. I changed the name to Bridging the Gap from Start Your Year Right, so that people don't feel like, okay, since it's Start Your Year Right, you can only do it at the beginning of the year, because you can set goals at any time of the year. So that's why I changed the name to Bridging the Gap. And it kind of walks you through, setting goals, but being intentional about the goals that you set. Not setting goals like because you feel like you're in your 30s or in your 20s or in your 40s, like there are specific things that you should be doing in that time, but actually looking at your own life and figuring out what it is that you want to work towards, not where any timeline says that you should be. It's about thinking about those things that you really want to work on. And the series is about like 5 or 6 videos long. So go to my YouTube channel and check it out. It's called Bridging the Gap series. And I'll walk you through, how to try to set your goals for the year. and it actually helps you to set your goals, set the right goals, and then it also helps you to set the foundation for actually achieving those goals and being successful with the goals. So it's just not just setting them up and then forgetting it, right? It's setting them up, creating your action plan, then making sure you have the right success factors in your life so that those goals can actually come to fruition. So make sure you go and check that out on my website. And if I still have you here, we are going to wrap the podcast up with the quote of the podcast, the QATP for the week, which is from Mary Ann Radmacher. I'm not hammering her last name, but it says, lean forward into your life. Begin each day as if it were on purpose. And I have to do my twist of the quote, and I just want to twist one part of it. So it would say, lean forward into your life. Begin each day as if it were required. So begin each day as if it was required for you to start to move forward, to start to get up, to start to grow up, to start to change, to start to move forward, be to something else bigger than what you are currently. Stop living your life like you're a robot. Stop living your life like you're on autopilot, right? Stop living your life without intention. Start making decisions that are actionable, that are goal-oriented, and that are going to take you from this place of aspiring to be XYZ to actually just becoming XYZ. Stop aspiring. Stop researching. Stop looking at what everybody else is doing. Stop comparing. Just go out there and start doing that thing that you want to do in your life. All right, so next week we are going to talk about Queen BAE Goal number 3, which is Mindset Matters. And we're on 3 already, so we only got 2 more after that. And I think 1 book review, and then we are going to go on break in August. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I hope you are sharing the podcast. I hope you're checking out my YouTube channel, because when we go on break, if you're still looking for content, just go to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys have already liked us on Instagram, Facebook. I'd say Twitter, but I don't use Twitter as much. And subscribe to my channel on YouTube. So I will talk to you guys in the next podcast.
You have been listening to another episode of Drop the Aspiring Act. If you're looking for more information of this podcast and other episodes, please visit queenbaegoals.com. That's QueenBaeGoals.com. All right, y'all. I'll see you in the next podcast.